Welcome to The Energized Hairdresser, the wellness podcast for stylists who are ready to stop running on empty and start fueling their body, mind, and business with energy that actually lasts. I'm your host, Ashley Jo Gillen, certified health coach and lifelong hairdresser with over 20 plus years behind the chair. Here we blend salon life with practical nutrition, wellness, and mindset coaching designed for real demands of stylist life. Each episode gives you simple tools you can use between clients, honest conversations about the industry, and encouragement you need to take care of you so you can show up energized, confident, and balanced behind the chair. If you're tired of running on caffeine and chaos, you are in the right place. All right, let's get into today's episode. Hey, bestie. Welcome back to The Energized Hairdresser. And today we're going to talk about why hairdressers are exhausted. And it's not so much about burnout and motivation, but we're going to distinguish the difference between that exhaustion versus that motivation and how to fix it. So if you think I'm burnout, I don't know if I love this industry anymore. The clients are driving me crazy. Everyone wants crazy stuff. Pinterest is dumb. AI is dumb. I'm just exhausted all the time. I want to gently challenge something today. What if you're not tired or exhausted or Pinterest isn't dumb because you don't love your job anymore? What if you are tired because your blood sugar has been on a roller coaster for a very long time? Let's talk about it. Okay. So before we go anywhere, I want you to think about your last work day. How long did you work? How many hours? Okay. How did you feel around 3 or 4? Or better yet, how did you feel around 75% of your shift being done? So you had 3/4 of your shift accomplished. You had one last appointment. How did you feel? Be honest with yourself. Were you focused and ready to get it done? Or did you experience shakiness? Did you experience irritability? Foggy? I need a coffee. I need a triple shot oat milk, brown sugar, extra pump, espresso, craving sugar. Okay. Were you agitated with your coworkers or kind of dreading that client? Or all of those symptoms those are symptoms. They are not your character. Okay. Or on the flip side, maybe you felt wired, underneath, you're just underneath that wired feeling was this, I'm so tired, but I'm amped up. Okay. Then I want to ask you, what did you eat that day and when? There's no judgment here. I don't care what you ate, but we're going to collect some information to potentially connect in our brains. How we take care of ourselves and how we fuel ourselves correlates with with the work that we do. Because very often we're going to hear burnout in the salon, but really it's just unstable fuel, not fueling ourselves consistently to where we can perform and create our best work. Okay. So the burnout myth, let's be clear, burnout is real. So I don't want to diminish anyone that's actually burnt out, but I experienced burnout so if you've been following me for a while, you would have seen me I first launched my ability, my desire to coach for hairdressers in 2019. And I always have wanted to coach hairdressers and I've always wanted to coach them on their health and wellness. But then 2020 happened and I would have loved to said that I was the coach that was just I'm going to rise above and I'm going to hop on Clubhouse and I'm going to just be there. But I have struggled a lot with ADHD and just imposter syndrome and just where do I fit? At one point in time, I was a coach for Thriver Society. So it's I was kind of riding those waves. And then I was going through education. Went through education to be a certified health and life coach, even though that's not a requirement. It's not a requirement to have any kind of education to be a coach. I wanted that. I was curious. I would be a lifelong student, right? Okay. But in 21, my husband and I decided to be psychotic and sell our house while I was pregnant. And we bought a bunch of land. and we lived in a camper with our 3 children. 2 of those children were with us full time, so it's like we were a blended family. My stepdaughter, like, she kind of goes back and forth. Poor thing, like, come hang out with your family in our camper. But like, and my boys were like 5. So, and we were expecting a baby. And then after that, we built a house. And so it's like the feelings that I felt during that time, and all the while I was like still trying to like cultivate my coaching practice, and my first Facebook group was called like Moms and Salons, and like had great success with that, but I really tanked. Okay. Physically, emotionally, spiritually, everything tanked. And I'm share this with you because I had the experience of like, what is the point? Like, why am I doing this? And I remember talking to my therapist at the time, and she's like, wow, that really just sounds like burnout. Like, I experienced a thing that like I couldn't hardly even function. Okay. I also was developing an underlying autoimmune disease at that point in time, but I didn't know it yet. So distinguishing the difference between mental burnout, hating the job, and physiological depletion, where the body literally lacks the energy to function. Okay. That's what we're distinguishing with. Both are treatable, but there's going to be a different approach. Okay. So if you're actually burnt out, then that's a whole other conversation. But if you are burnt out, this could be a solution to help you kind of get some of that regulation back. So true burnout looks like emotional detachment. You don't care. All right. Like cynicism, loss of meaning, feeling disconnected from your clients. You know, you might be shooting on yourself, but you're like, whatever. Okay. What I see over and over and over again with hairdressers is like physiological exhaustion is being mislabeled as emotional burnout, but there's a difference. If you're skipping breakfast, if you're taking care of your kids, but yet you get to work and you're like, what I need to eat. You know, you drink coffee on an empty stomach. You work through your lunch, you grab a pastry at 2 p.m. or you DoorDash it and you're like eating it in the break room real quick, you know, and then you sit down at night, you eat your first meal at 8 p.m. Like that's your body's running on like that's not stable energy. So even if you are loving your job and you're like, I like what I do, I just don't feel good. Imagine how much better you would love it if you had consistent fuel. So this is a burnout that's like metabolic stress. So like when we don't eat consistently, it's causing the stress in our bodies. So what does blood sugar actually do? So to make it simple, blood sugar is your body's fuel system. So when we eat carbohydrates, your blood sugar rises. Your body releases insulin, energy gets delivered to your cells. When you don't eat regularly, or you eat high sugar, low protein meals, you spike. So blood sugar roller coaster. And like every spike trains your nervous system to go into like go mode. A couple episodes back, I kind of talked about like our body can't really let go of anything if it's in a chronic state of stress. And the easiest way to lower your stress is to stabilize your blood sugar. We want nice waves. There's like a chart that you want your blood sugar to be within these measurements, right? So if we don't eat regularly, and then we're eating high sugar foods, low protein meals, we're eating quickly. Okay. You spike and then crash, spike, crash. And every time you spike, it trains your nervous system to go into go mode. High glucose, high insulin, high cortisol, then you crash. Low glucose is brain fog, cravings, anxiety, irritability. You can't separate your energy, your mood, and your blood sugar. They're not different systems. They're all connected. So when you tell yourself, I just need more discipline, or I just need to get my shit together, or I just need to get my business in order, or I need to go to another class, you're trying to mindset your way out of physiology. And that's a disconnect. And it's no wonder we live in such a hustle and bustle society that like I am like all of these things it's like what comes first, the chicken or the egg? What do we need to focus on? Do you need to focus on your business so you're bringing in more money, or do you need to focus on your health so you can sustain the business so you can bring in more money? My objective is working with hairdressers is to make the time. Like I had a client last week and she's like, how do you do it? And I don't mean that in a scenario. I mean that in a like, I think that I'm like muddling along here, but then she's kind of over, it's just like, it's not a comparison game, but I look at what I want to accomplish for hairdressers is to help you figure out the physiological things that are like the physiology that's going on in your body and then how to apply them into your life. Because yes, this is a habit. Some people might be able to just learn this and then do it, but most of us don't. We're creatives. We're like individuals that need to do our things. And your life is not everyone's life is the same. Like, this is why hairdressers are kind of uniquely affected by this because you're also probably, you're empaths, you're givers. I'm the oldest daughter syndrome here. Okay. So how do we do what we do? Why are hairdressers uniquely affected? Because this is just a human being. Like, this is like what humans need. So we don't need to we're not we're special, but if you're not even a hairdresser, even this is applicable to them. But why our jobs matter and why we need to fuel ourselves is because we're standing all day. We're moving constantly. We're holding up our arms. We're emotionally listening to clients. I I don't know what's harder, like a day where you see 10 haircuts and you have 10 different personalities, or you have two colors with two different personalities, but then your emotional, you're formulating differently, right? You're managing time, you're problem solving in real time. We have a job to do that is, if you think about it, I'm not a hair color educator, but literally every hair color is made to go on virgin hair to get the result that you want. But how many people have virgin hair? Because color won't lift color. And then you don't people aren't honest with their hair history. And we have new products that come out all the time. And then what do you do if you don't like the results that you were trying to do? And now you've just provided a service let's just say you do a keratin treatment on somebody and so brand has a new one and you're like, cool, I'm going to try this. And you do it and you're like, wow, what did I do? What's the thing right now? I hope you're ready for nothing. Okay. So that problem solving is doing something to your body. You're making precise decisions. Okay. That high glucose, that's you need fuel to do those things. And then you're operating like an athlete, but we're feeling like someone who sits at a desk. Like, if you think about what we're doing, like, I work at a little tiny studio in my house, and it's like I don't have far to go, but I remember those days. I worked in the salon for a long time where it was long. You'd go back and forth. So it's like you'd see your client and then you'd go back to the color room and you mix the color and you go back out. And then oh my gosh, those days when you were double booking, I don't double book anymore, but well, so this isn't because we wonder why we're crashing, but you can't focus. You're overstimulated. You feel short tempered. You want the sugar. You kind of zone out. Maybe you have an hour break and you're just and I'm just going to scroll. It's not because there's nothing wrong with you. You just you need some food. It's because your brain requires stable, consistent glucose to function. So when glucose drops, your brain panics. It signals a stress hormone. Cortisol rises, adrenaline rises. You feel wired, you feel unstable. You feel wired, but unstable. That wired feeling, it's not about productivity, it's about compensation. Okay. So there's a nervous system layer to this. And when we go one level deeper, when your blood sugar swings up and down all day, your nervous system never gets to settle. You stay in that sympathetic mode. Nervous system is kind of a new thing that we're talking about, but we have our parasympathetic state and our sympathetic state, which is that sympathetic mode is fight or flight. And when you're in that fight or flight, your body shuts down, it can't digest food. Those stress hormones are going to be there. And that just doesn't go away once you clock out. Okay. That's why you can't fully relax after work, or you're so tired, but you're kind of your brain's going and you just go home and you scroll and then you're ashamed. You might, if you if you were like me, you're shaming yourself because you need to be productive, but you just don't have anything in you. Okay. So we then blame the industry or motherhood or age or motivation or productivity. And like, then we see an Instagram ad and we're like, oh my gosh, I need that. But if your nervous system never feels safe because your fuel is inconsistent, you will feel chronically overwhelmed. You're not broken because you feel this way. We're just underfed. Imagine. Like, what's a simple solution? So let's reframe this. I really, yeah, a good reframe. Like, you're not unmotivated. You're not a dramatic person. Like, you're not just all of these things. I have been told literally every one of these things in my life. You're not losing your passion. Like, you're not losing your passion. You're not too sensitive. You are not overloaded. You might have a lot on your plate physically, but you also are probably underfueled. So metabolic stress affects, not only does it affect our bodies, but it affects our output. So how patient we are with our clients, the ability to do creative work. Okay. Another layer to our job is that we're also artists. We're formulating, we're placing, we're adding things. Okay. When you have metabolic stress, the confidence in your consultations, those are going to change. How you do a consultation. Have you ever noticed at the very beginning of your shift, probably when you've had some food, you do a banging consultation. But by 5 p.m., you're like, hey, Kathy, what are we doing? Great. That's a sign we need a snack. Okay. The other layer is that hairdressing is our job. It's not our life. So then after we work, we got to go home and parent. How are we going to parent if we have nothing? Metabolic stress is going to affect our workout consistency, our cravings at night. Okay. These things are not tiny. To fuel changes your performance. Okay. It's not cool. It's not like exciting. This isn't exciting things. Eat 3 to 4 meals a day. But if it can give you a more peace of mind, huge. Okay. This isn't, I'm not talking about like what to eat. That's like another episode. I'm just talking about eating consistently. That one act of eating consistently really changes your whole persona. Okay. So how does this work behind the chair? Because I do talk a lot online about salon proof systems. So imagine you're eating within an hour of waking protein. Okay. So I have to set a timer in the morning and I have to eat within an hour of waking up. Okay. What we're eating is a different scenario, but obviously pick a protein within an hour of waking, a couple hard-boiled eggs, some toast, maybe hard-boiled eggs, some Greek yogurt, berries. I'm currently eliminating gluten and dairy. So I have a smoothie. Okay. You eat a balanced meal every 3 to 4 hours. You stop drinking coffee on an empty stomach. I didn't say that all of these things are fantastic. Okay. You pair your carbs with a protein and a fat. If you're going to reach for a sugary snack, balance it out with a protein and a fat. Okay. We got to plan for some salon snacks. And the best thing to do for this is incorporate that in your weekly grocery routine. Okay. Just grab a box of some things that you can kind of keep at your station, which I do have like a salon proof snack. I need to put that somewhere. I need to give that out because I don't need to keep that. Side note, it's just so funny. It's like when you have this desire to do a thing, I just want to coach hairdressers, but then marketing is a whole other ball of wax. Okay. So instead of crashing, now imagine you feel steady. Instead of just asking Kathy what she wants at 4 p.m., you can actually sit down and look at her. I keep a stool by my station, even in my tiny space, and I sit down and I look at people before we get started. Because for 2 reasons. Number one, I want to connect. I want to look a client in the eye. How are you doing? What's new? All right. My business is very I have a regular flow. And the other reason is because I get to sit down. And I personally I take some silent breaths. I will reposition myself. I'll roll my shoulders back. I'll kind of, and it's funny because I tend to mirror, which would be a really fun podcast because there's ways that you can put your client at ease just by mirroring with what they do. But that's why I sit down because it allows me to sit down. Okay. Which can bring that nervous system into a more balanced state. So instead of brain fog, you can think clearly, you can give that consultation. You can ask Kathy, how's your hair doing? Because I know we're trying to juggle and balance between daytime hours and evening time hours. And if you're like me, I find the balance. I work a couple nights a week and that's fine. I can do 2 nights. I'm not doing 6. So, and oftentimes that last client, they're paying a price because they're there late and you've been there all day. So imagine being able to give them the same service as 10 o'clock you. I mean, some could argue that that's their fault for wanting to book late, and another could argue that you charge more for working late because your energy is different, but that's besides the point. So we're not necessarily changing our whole entire personality here. The goal is stable blood sugar. It means better consultations, better, like cleaner, clearer formula thinking, the ability to like follow through with your formulas where you are looking at them, writing them down, connect, like writing those notes, less emotional reactivity, less end of day resentment, and then less binge eating at night. So this is a really kind of detailed episode, but I'm kind of here for it. So also too, your sleep is going to improve because your fuel is improving and thus everything improves. Okay. So this isn't a motivation problem. We cannot motivate ourselves out of this scenario. We can't just push through. We need to be fueled. We need to teach, like, this is the whole system. Okay. This is before your workouts, before productivity. This is a system that your body requires steady fuel. So I don't want you to overhaul your whole life, but I would like for you just to notice, when did you eat last? How much protein was in your first meal? When does your energy kind of dip? And how does your body feel during that time? Okay. We're just going to collect some data. The best place to start is awareness. Okay. Your 4 p.m. crash is data. And I use 4 p.m. just as like, a standard time. But like if you're working longer than a 4-hour shift, you have to eat. And your crash could happen at any point in time, but it's just, you get it. Sugar cravings, data. Exhaustion, notice it. Okay. Your body is just kind of communicating a little bit to you, and we need to make sure we're listening. So we can't necessarily change something if we don't know it exists. So, all right, we're going to wrap this up. So if you've been telling yourself that you're burnout, I want you to kind of pause before you find a new career, before you spend $1,000 on extensions, because that's going to solve all your problems. It might not. Extensions might solve your problems. Actually, when I started doing extensions, this is what I uncovered, because I'm like, how am I supposed to do this 17 plus $100 service when I am shaky? Okay. Before you cut your hours, before you think that you need to rebrand your entire business and get a new logo and do new colors and update your website, ask yourself, because hairdressers are high performing professionals operating on unstable fuel. And when we stabilize our fuel, everything will shift. Your energy, your mood, your patience, your clarity, your confidence. We don't need more motivation. We just need some stable glucose. So here we go. If this is helpful and you're like, what do I do now? We can't fix a 10-year-old habit on a 20-ish minute podcast. Okay. So that's why I'm hosting the Blood Sugar Blueprint workshop, March 15th. It's going to be live on Zoom at 8 p.m. $29. Energetically, things happen when you put some dollars to it. You show up differently. But I wanted to teach this in a more in-depth scenario affordably. Okay. So inside this blood sugar blueprint, we're going to teach you how to stabilize your blood sugar, how to stabilize your energy in a way that works with a real salon schedule. So it's not extremes. It's not dieting. It's not macros. It's just stability systems to support you in this business. Okay. Because systems are going to be willpower all the time. We only have so much decision making and willpower out there. So if you go to my Instagram, or I will figure out how to put a link for the workshops, you can learn more below this episode. But I hope this was helpful. I feel like it was kind of a lot of information, and very much chicken or the egg, but I'm here for you. So before you call yourself totally exhausted or burnout, you need to ask, are you fueled? So I'm looking forward to it. So next week, we're going to dive into some more of these salon systems and how we can bridge this gap. Okay. Because it's so easy for me to say eat more, but if you're juggling all the things, I'm here for you. Okay. So I'll see you in our next episode.